So for the month of March, I decided to do a little experiment. Now, I've never been one to buy coffee every single day. Like a lot of people, I do drink it in the morning. It's probably the first thing that I will grab, but I typically will make my own. I think the only time I got into a routine of buying it every day was probably over 10 years ago when my coffee maker died. And because I was too lazy to go to the store and buy a new one, for probably about maybe 3 or 4 weeks, I did go to 7-Eleven like every single morning, but it didn't become something that I had to do. And to be honest with you, I never really understood the need of having to do it every single day. Once in a while, yeah, sure, but I would hear people talk about going to Starbucks every day and, you know, how they couldn't give up their Starbucks habit or their Dunkin' habit or whatever, and I never got it. Until now. Some way, somehow, I recently stumbled upon this article, and it was a few years old. I think it was like from 2018 or 2019, but it was talking about coffee addictions and people's love of coffee. But what was interesting is that it kind of approached it from a different angle, not only talking about people's love of drinking coffee, but also their love of buying it. And what it was saying is that some people are actually addicted to the actual act of purchasing it. And I thought that was so interesting because it was something that I've never heard before, nor had I ever considered. So I thought it'd be kind of fun to treat myself for maybe 3 or 4 weeks and kind of get into the mindset of those who actually do buy it every day and see what it's like. Now, I have to say, I did not go into the month of March with the intentions of buying coffee almost every single day. I think I bought it maybe 20 out of the 31 days, which is a lot more than what's typical for me. Now, I initially had the idea to do this video a few months ago, but for whatever reason, I just, never went through with it. But in the month of March, Dunkin' had a promotion going where if you use the mobile app and you called ahead, you could get a medium hot or iced coffee for only $2. But even once I found out about the promotion, I wasn't thinking about the experiment. If anything, I was thinking that for $2, I can go more often. So it wasn't until day 5 or 6 of the month that I decided that I was gonna follow through and see what happens. Now, going back to the first few days of starting the experiment, I'm not gonna lie, I felt so guilty. If you watch any videos on how to save money, how to be frugal, how to build an emergency fund, one of the first things that most people will say is to stop drinking coffee, or at the very least, if you do buy it on a regular basis, to cut back. I've given those tips before myself. I always talk about the importance of treating yourself, but doing things in moderation. And what I was doing was not in moderation. So I felt guilty. I felt like a hypocrite. But that wasn't the only thing I was feeling. As days went on, I went from feeling guilty to feeling embarrassed. So to give you a little backstory, most of the times when we would go to Dunkin', we would always go to the one closest to our house, is less than a mile away. And every single time, just about every single time, it was always the same 3 people coming to the window. And it got to the point where one guy even started to recognize us, and we started to have friendly exchanges like you would have with someone that you see on a daily basis. So yeah, I was slightly embarrassed, especially being a money person, because in my mind, all I can think about is we are doing one of the #1 things that all the experts tell you not to do. But then there was a shift and things got really interesting. So I don't remember exactly when this happened, but it got to a point where I went from feeling guilty and embarrassed to actually starting to look forward to the daily coffee runs. It actually started to become the highlight of my day, where if I was in the house working or out running errands, I would start looking for a Dunkin', and if I couldn't find one, I would look for a Starbucks. And I don't know if I mentioned this before, but I was buying iced coffee throughout the month. I did not buy any hot coffee. So, that's something that you can sip on it for, at least I can sip on it for a couple of hours. And that's exactly what I did. If I was running errands or if I was working, I would just have it by my side, and I liked it. It was enjoyable. I can't even lie. It became a nice treat. And one thing I noticed is that because I was enjoying buying it so much, I actually stopped making my own iced coffee at home. And when I did make it, I didn't really enjoy it as much. Now before, yeah, I did enjoy it. I had the creamer, the almond milk, the syrups, things to make it taste nice, but it just wasn't doing it for me anymore. So my phone keeps overheating because I'm in the car. So hopefully this angle makes a difference. One thing that happened unexpectedly that I didn't see coming was that I started to bring my husband down with me. So whenever I would go on my iced coffee runs, most of the time, I would say 90% of the time, he was with me. And it got to a point where he actually started to look forward to the coffee runs too, where he would bring it up to me. Like if I was working, he would be like, oh, you ready to go get our coffee? Or if we were out running errands, oh, let's stop and get coffee. And he would even go on his own and buy it. And to give you a little background, he is not a big coffee drinker by any means. And before March 2023, he could probably count on one hand the number of iced coffees he's actually purchased. But by the second week of the month, he had downloaded the app and he was putting in his own orders. And to be honest with you, the mobile ordering, I do feel that that is probably the number one reason why I got sucked in so easily. Because being able to place the order on the app, it just made it too easy. And to give you a little background on myself, I rarely do mobile orders. I don't really save my credit card information anywhere. I think I have it with DoorDash and maybe a few other places. But when it comes to like going through a drive-through, I'm the type of person who will put my order in while I'm there, hand you a card, hand you cash, whatever. But when it came to using the app and having to actually use an online payment method, because that was part of the promotion, you had to do call ahead. It had to be a mobile order. And I think I was using Apple Pay most of the time. It just became too easy. There was no effort. And the fact that the app saved your previous orders didn't help either, because literally all it would take is 3 taps, 5 seconds, and the order is placed. But not only did it become a routine, but I also started to justify what I was doing, because as we got closer to the end of the month, I started going back and forth with whether I wanted to continue, and I decided to. But as I was making that decision, I actually thought to myself, and I caught it, I said, it's just $2. With tax, it was $2.80, but we'll round up to $3. So if somebody were to actually do this every day, they would easily spend $100. Before March 2023, if someone would have told me that they spent $100 a month on buying coffee outside of the house, I would have thought to myself that that didn't make any sense, and why would anyone do it? But yet there I was in my mind justifying it, thinking to myself that it wasn't that bad. So yeah, I learned a lot from this little experiment. And I can definitely say that I now have a better understanding of why some people buy coffee every single day. Not that I agree with it, because I do feel that moderation is key, but I do understand it. I'm happy to say that once the month ended and the promotion was over, we went back to our normal routine pretty easily. So this didn't start a new habit, but if I can be perfectly honest, I do slightly miss it. I miss the consistency of it being right and tasting good every single time. And I missed the daily treat because it was something that I looked forward to. And as far as whether or not I would actually do this again, you know, I really don't know. I'm not saying yes, I'm not saying no. But one thing about me is that when it comes to non-essential spending, I don't really do a lot of it throughout the month. So who knows, the next time they have a $2 monthly promotion, I might jump on it as a way to enjoy my little daily treats and a little consistency.